Sound check. We'll be making a start in 1 minute. Just going to give people the chance to join. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Volta and Infinity Group have joined forces today to present you with a webinar on how to utilize the tools available in Microsoft 365 for education to run effective classrooms. We actually have about 130 people in our audience today, and Hugh Valentine, Volta's CEO, will share his knowledge and his experience implementing these solutions for schools. Questions can be submitted by way of the Q&A icon, and I'll keep these over and share with Hugh at the end. If we don't get to all the questions, please just be assured that we will answer them in the train of this chat. Hugh, it's over to you.
Thank you, Lisa. Hello, everyone. So the topic we're going to be covering today is running classrooms remotely using Microsoft Teams. So this is kind of a series of events that we've been running on how to get the most out of working remotely using various Microsoft 365 technologies, including Microsoft Teams. So the agenda of what we're going to cover off today. So we're going to do an introduction, an overview of what tools are available. So we're not just going to cover Microsoft Teams, but we'll cover some other tools like SharePoint Online and another product called Flipgrid. We're going to give a quick overview of what's available in terms of resources and help for people and schools at the moment. We'll then jump into kind of some more of the workshops and the events that we've been doing, and then we'll cover off useful resources that you can get started with. The takeaways for our webinar today are how you guys can get started and set up these technologies for remote classes, the free tools and resources that are available to you, how we get started with all these technologies, and a live demonstration of how you can utilize them going forward. So we've got a quick question for people, trying to make this a bit more interactive. So if you notice at the top here, we've got polev.com/Hugh Valentin 734. You'll be able to vote on whether you are joining this webinar as an educator or teacher, a parent, a service provider, or other. And it just gives us a good impression of who's actually joining today and kind of the feedback that we want. You can also text the mobile number at the top of the screen, so 07480 781 235, and then you can type your message A, B, D, or C. We'll just give everyone a couple of minutes to vote on that. Hopefully we'll see lots of educators and teachers joining the session, and hopefully a few parents that might be looking to share this information on to their children's schools as well. Looks like we're starting to get a few results. Okay, cool. So this is quite a good piece of technology that may be incorporated into some of the way you guys are teaching. PolEV allows us to basically integrate these kinds of simple polls into what we're doing. So if you are running a classroom and using PowerPoint as a primary tool to do that, then PolEV can be a really quick way of gathering feedback from people and making your presentations interactive. So we're kind of using this today to see the kind of split of people that are joining. But as you can see, this is a very easy way to start to get some feedback from pupils as they join these education sessions. And we can see that the most of the people today, 42% are educators and teachers, Got quite a lot of people that are service providers. So if we can help you guys in any way, look to deploy these services, let us know. A few parents hoping to pass these insights on, and then a few in the other category. So for educations, it's probably looking at the tools that you already have available to you. So Microsoft Teams is one of those tools that's available for free. So one of the quotes that we've had from one of our clients, Teams brings us together to collaborate in ways we never imagined before. It has improved our staff communication and reduced teachers' time required to stay organized in the classroom. So this kind of is highlighting how powerful the Microsoft Teams can be and help people. With the current situation that we're in, obviously Microsoft Teams is a fantastic tool that's going to help you guys start to run classrooms remotely. So what is Microsoft Teams and how can it help educations in this current situation? So basically, Microsoft Teams is a collaborative workspace. It basically means that we can start to run classes from a single hub, whether they're on site, they're remote, it doesn't matter. We can start to provide one central tool that will basically allow people to easily join. Within the tool, we can do things like one-to-one sessions. So if a student's struggling and you want to perhaps give them some further guidance, Microsoft Teams will allow us to do a one-to-one chat. And we can also do a group chat. So we can get the whole class on board and start to show people the knowledge that we want to pass on to them. We can co-author documents and presentations and stuff in real time. We can provide a lot of tools that are available. So we're going to cover off things like OneNote, the assessments capability. All of these can really help drive classrooms and really get you guys up to speed on that. The platform is accessible. So this is available to all students and it's free. So you don't have to worry about paying for this. This can be a platform that's available to all students in your environment. There's things like immersive readers and translations. So we can use things like closed captionings, which is something that will be available on this webinar that we're doing now, to just get everybody involved. So it doesn't matter if people have disabilities, this platform can really help them. Finally, Teams is secure. This integrates with a lot of existing school environments, and Microsoft have invested a huge amount of money into making sure that this platform is a secure environment and all of your data will be protected and of the highest quality. So Microsoft Teams is available for free. So there's a license that's available called the Office 365 A1 license. And this basically provides all of the tools that we're going to go through today. So things like Outlook, which can provide your staff and students a mailbox, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, which can be used for developing the Word and applications and stuff. OneNote, which can be used for storing notes, and we'll show some examples for how that can be used. Things like OneDrive, SharePoint, Teams, we're going to go into a lot more detail. But this Office 365 A1 license is available to you for free, and we'll be providing this presentation afterwards. So there's a link here that you can use to download the presentation afterwards as well and find more information on the A1 license. So assistance to get started. So because of COVID-19, everyone is basically scrambling to help you. So there's free deployment support that's available directly from Microsoft. So if you're a large education or even a small education, you're able to take advantage of a benefit that's called Fast Track. So Fast Track basically enables you to engage directly with Microsoft engineers and experts, and they will actually help your organization get up to speed and start to deploy some of this technology. So obviously we're on hand to help as well. But if you're looking to get some help from Microsoft for completely free, you can engage with the Microsoft and get the free deployment support. So Fast Track, basically, the team will help you look to deploy Microsoft Teams. So that means that they'll look at the security aspects. They'll help you with products like multi-factor authentication and conditional access. They'll help you with Microsoft Intune, app management. They'll help you configure Exchange. And they can even help with the driving of adoption and that kind of thing. So these benefits are available to education institutes. If you have more than 150 seats, then you can leverage different types of resource. So from 150 seats to 500 seats, you'll be able to get resources around deployment and adoption for Microsoft 365. If you have more than 500 seats, Microsoft will get a lot more involved and actually help you with the migration of your data and email into these platforms as well. So if you're looking to get more information around the fast track, you can go to microsoft.com/fast track and you can get started with that. There's also a lot of government assistance that's available. So Microsoft and have got provided help, but also the government are providing a lot of resources as well. So there's a link down here at the bottom, which basically says if you need to provide digital devices, including laptops and tablets, or internet access to some of your disadvantaged children and young people, then you can go to this URL and the government are providing resources and grants to help you guys get those disadvantaged children and young people devices that they'll need. So we're going to jump into an overview of some of the tools that are available and how they can help basically run remote classrooms. So the first product that we have is a product called Microsoft Teams. So Microsoft Teams, for anybody that hasn't used it, is basically Microsoft's new communication platform. So there's a lot of features that are available into this. This tool is available for commercial organizations, but obviously it's available to education, and it's been tailored very much to providing a streamlined education experience. So the concept of Teams is that I can create an individual team as I require here. So I've got a few different teams that have been set up in this demo environment. I've got one for science, algebra, health research. And what I can do is I can jump up into the top here and I'm able to create a team. So Microsoft have got a few different types of teams that we can create. The first one is we can create a class team. So this basically is if you've got a class that you're looking to run and you want to create a workspace for the discussions, the projects and the assignments, that's what the class team is all about. We can spin one of those up for each of the classes that you're running, and then you can start to add in the teachers and the pupils that would be involved. We've got the professional learning community. So if you've got multiple teachers focusing on the same subject, then the idea of the PLC team is you can create a working group for those educators to work together. So it's kind of like sharing notes, sharing ideas for assignments, and basically being able to work together. We've got the staff team. So this is kind of for the administration and development. So if you're thinking back office functions, you can create a finance team, an IT team, and they can start to use this same functionality for that kind of thing. We can also create an other team. So think of these for things like after school activities, clubs that you might run, study groups, that kind of thing. So there's basically a type of team that's available for everybody. If I was to create a new team, I can click on create team here, and I have the ability then to give it a name. So I'm going to call this one maths. I can put a description that can help people find it. So we'll put this for maths class year 7. I hit next. And that goes off and creates the team. Now from adding people to this team, I'm able to basically search for different people in the organization. So I can see if I search for the teachers, I can go ahead and add any of the teachers that I'd like to be on this team. So I'm able to quickly look for a teacher's name in here, which I'll just find one. So we're going students. So we could search for a teacher's name. I can't think of one at the moment, but we can go also to a student and we can look for someone in here like Douglas Cothran. So we're able to add him in. Now, there's lots of different ways that we can add people onto teams. We can either search for them directly in this list. So if I've already set up the IT that's required and we're synchronizing our current classroom and user data into Microsoft 365, we'll already have access to the students and the teachers that are available in here. If perhaps you're just getting started with Teams and you don't currently have the synchronization set up, what we can actually do is when we create the team, we can go into the Manage Team settings in the top here. And then we've got under the Settings tab, we've got a load of different settings that we can start to pick. One of those options is the ability to generate a code. So if you perhaps haven't got the Microsoft 365 infrastructure set up and you're looking to get your students on this environment, you would be able to get them to create an account on teams.microsoft.com. You can then create this code and you can then send that to all the teachers and students, and they'd be able to easily join the Microsoft team. And what will happen is it will pop up with an approval notification. So as soon as a student tries to join with this code, you as the owner of the team, you'd get a pop-up notification and you can then approve or reject that request. We can also click on the three dots here and we can choose get a link to a team. So you can grab a link to this team and we can then send that over on an email to the students and ask them to join that way. And again, you can approve that request. So by far the best experience would be to have all of your students and staff set up in the Microsoft 365 environment and syncing that with your current user identity store. But if in the interim you don't have that capability and you just want to get started with this, you can either use this code option or we can use the get link to team, and that will allow people then to join. If we go into an existing team, I'll jump in and I'll show some of the features that are available within this platform. So I'm going to go into the science team. And you can see here there's been a lot of conversations that are going on. So down the left-hand side, we've got a general tab. So every Microsoft team that's created starts off with this general tab, and it's used for general communications around what's going on. So you can see people here are saying that they found relevant information. Students have asked if they've got any guidance on different pieces. So we've got lots of interactions in here where people are already starting to communicate. If there's specific conversations or groups that are happening around the class, I'm able to create a channel within here. So a channel allows us to break the communications up. So perhaps I'm doing a subject on oceans and I want to create a different channel just so all the conversations are broken out into a different section. So if I create one here called oceans, that then creates a new channel, and you can see now this has a completely fresh conversations. It also has its own files area, and it also has some note stuff, and we'll cover a bit more of those off as we go through. But the whole idea of a channel is basically if you have a really busy team where there's lots of communication going on, you'll want to break that down into different channels. So for things like different topics or different teams that are broken up, just so that means that there isn't an overwhelming amount of information on this channel. I can also, just as an aside, I can create a private channel. So you can create a restricted section within a team. So perhaps you only want to add a few people into a channel so they can have restricted files. Perhaps other teachers could see that. Then we can do that and we can then restrict who has access. So private channels are very good for hiding some of that information and making it not accessible to everybody. Now, the next piece of this is basically around the communications. So what I can do within here is I can type in @ and I can type in @team. Now, what this basically does is it will send a notification to every single member of that team. So by doing an @team, I can say important announcement, assignments will be added today. And when I hit enter on that, everyone who's a member of this team will now get a pop-up notification. So if they've got Teams on their phone or their laptop or tablet, this will pop up as a notification and they'll see that. It may be that I'm just looking to get a certain individual's help. So you can see here that Douglas has replied to that thread. I could be looking to perhaps speak with Douglas on the thread. Now everyone can see this, so it's not a private communication, but I could say, you had some good ideas on the call about this. Can you share below? Now, only Douglas will get the pop-up notification. Everyone else will be able to see it, but it's going to pop up for Douglas and he can then communicate and reply back to me. I could perhaps also tag another individual in. So I could say, Deborah, are you able to feedback as well? So the tagging is really important. If I tag the whole team, everyone gets a pop-up notification. But if I only tag the individuals, everyone else can see it, but it's only going to pop up as a notification for Douglas and Deborah in this case. It could be that something's also not that important. So I could be looking for a relevant link that I want to put in. So I could just find a link to perhaps Ocean on Wiki, and I can drop that in and just say FYI all. And because I haven't tagged anyone, everyone will be able to see it when they come into this platform, but they won't get a pop-up notification. It will just show up as bold here. So kind of the way we tag is very important in doing this. The @ team, to get everyone's attention, tagging the @ individuals if we only require a certain individual or individuals. And I can then basically perhaps get a student if they were asking for help. So Douglas could pop a message into here saying, I'm really stuck with this topic. Are you able to help me? And then I'll be able to jump on that and start to provide some feedback around how we could help him during the class as well. So you see here, Douglas has put a post in to say, I'm stuck with this, can you give me a help? So I can now scroll down into this, and if I wanted to, I could start a quick video chat with that student. So when I hit the meet now, it will basically pop up with a box that allows me then to start to share my video and my audio. So I can say, quick catch up, and I could then jump into this session with Douglas. So you see here, I'm able to jump into a session on here. I could search for Douglas in the top right-hand corner. That will call him onto this platform. And I can even do things like start to record this meeting. So I could record the session and we could then come back and find this later on. So the kind of video capability that we have, if students are stuck with a particular subject, we're able to just jump on a quick video call within the team and start to help those students and obviously record them so people can play them back. We also have this kind of individual chat as well. So while I'm in the team, everyone can see all of the communications that are going on. It's not restricted in any way. Obviously, potentially, if Douglas had asked for help, I might not want to have a team where everybody could see that. So what I can do is I can click on the chat here and I can send Douglas a message just to say, I seen that you need help. Can we do a call? So the kind of chat functionality that we have is really good for just sending one-to-one messages where not everybody's needed. And I can do all of the same things like video, voice call, that kind of thing. Back on Teams, we can do lots of other types of things as well. So I've kind of just put @ team and different tags in here. If I wanted to send a message and perhaps do more of a formal message, if I hit this little A icon here, I've got a lot more options when I'm starting to create a team. So one of them is an announcement. So I could say new assignments added. I could then put need to be finished end of next week. And I could then tag the team so everybody's aware that that's going on. And I could say, let me know of any issues. So now that's kind of a more bold message. You can add your own pictures and stuff. You can even flag this as an important message. And basically then everyone will see that there's new assignments added. So this is kind of a in your face that this is an important announcement and that everyone can see that. We could request that people like that they've seen that. So within this, if I hover over a thread, I'm able to hit the like button and I can start to basically say I've done that. And people could ask questions in this thread as well. So this is a really, really good platform to basically enable that communication. So I would recommend that you consider using the video functionality. So a teacher may start with this meet now. They can schedule those meetings in advance. So you can see here, I could schedule the meeting and I could say, right, we're going to do class on Monday and we're going to start this class at 9 a.m. I'm going to run that through for half an hour or an hour. And I can then add in the attendees. So I could add in specific individuals or I could add the whole team in here as well if I wanted to. So that's kind of setting up a future class that we can talk about science. And I can send that off and everyone will get a notification then on here and we can start to do the meet now. So the meet now then would allow us to do things like share screens. So I'd be able to click on this share option and I could share my desktop. I could share a PowerPoint if I have one available. And another really cool thing in here is we can do a Microsoft Whiteboard. So perhaps if you want to start to get people to do some creative learning around this, the whiteboard basically allows us to do things like, just get this out the way. So all the students can join in this whiteboard. I can add Douglas in, I could add Deborah in. And we could start then to just draw out ideas. So I'm not very creative, to be honest, so I'll struggle to draw anything of worth. But people can come into this and they can start to draw things that they were trying to do. So the whiteboard is a very good way of having an interactive whiteboarding session where your students can start to draw onto this and provide feedback, and you can perhaps visualize some of the bits that you're trying to explain as well. So that's a really good tool to utilize. We can obviously, as I mentioned, so you can see here one of our students is drawing here. We can also record this, as I said, and we can use the screen sharing. So a lot of the way that classrooms would be run on this platform would be screen sharing a PowerPoint and then going through that, as I've been doing with my presentation, maybe investigating something like PolEV to try and do some feedback on the fly as well. So if you hang that call up, that basically is kind of the first piece of this. It's around doing the meetings and the conversations, and that'll basically start to help you guys interact with students either via video call and then on an ad hoc basis using this as well. The next part of Microsoft Teams is the files capability. So we can upload all of the pieces of information that are required for the class within here. So you can see here I've got various spreadsheets, I've got PowerPoint that I can open up, and the students would have access to all of this information as well. So we can make it so the students can view, whereas the teachers are able to edit and add stuff in, so that people are able to go find the resources that they need for a class really easily. If I go into things like subjects, each of these channels here has its own file section as well. So you can upload your own files into the relevant channels as well to make it easy for students to navigate this area and find what they're looking for. So the files are a really good place for storing the kind of assignments, the coursework, all of the information that you'd like them to see. We can also hit this sync button. So if you're a teacher and you're looking to try and get your files synced on your PC, when we hit that sync button, that creates a local copy of those files on your PC, and you're able to browse them in kind of a view similar to this, where you're able to view them in like a network drive. So if you want to be able to take those files offline to work on while you're on the move, or you want to perhaps work on them in this kind of view, you can use that sync button to take those with you. We've also got Class Notebook. So this is a really powerful learning tool. So the Class Notebook basically allows you as a teacher to come into here and start to build all of the notes that you'd like to store within here. So we've got two types of this. We've got a open to everybody. So I can basically create an FAQ and I can give people access to notes and materials and they can see all of that. I have a collaboration space, which is accessible to everybody, and we can get people to provide feedback and update that as well. And every single student also gets their own private notebook as well, which as a teacher, you would have access to this. So I'm able to go into Douglas's notes here, and I can see the notes that he's been making as we've been going through for class as well. So perhaps as you're doing your presentation and showing people notes on the ocean, and you want to check whether Douglas has been taking notes and learning, or perhaps you're on a call with him and you want to go through something, you'll be able to see all of the notes that he's been doing as well. And then you can start to have those conversations and flag those up. We also have assignments. So this is a very powerful piece of functionality that allows you to start to provide tests and quizzes, and basically an area where people can upload assignments. So if I hit the create here, I can choose a quiz as an example, and this uses a product in the background called Microsoft Forms. So within a quiz, I could just do a quick new one. So we might just do a very simple quiz on how, if I click the create new form button, I'm able to come in here and we can do ocean quiz. And I can start to then add different types of questions. So I can click choice. I can say how many oceans are there? And I can start to populate this quiz out. So the assignments, basically, it could be a quiz, which is like what I've just showed you. And I can then add this in and I can set a due date for the students to do that. I can also do an assignment. So an assignment might be a more involved piece of work. So this might require them to download a Word document and then upload that document back in later on. So the assignments is a very good way of doing perhaps more structured work. So I've got some examples here of ones that I've completed previously. So you can see here that there's ones that have been done in the past. There's ones that are due tomorrow, and there's ones that are due much further in the future. So as a teacher, you're able to come in and you're able to schedule these assignments for your students to work on those in advance, basically. So this one here, math review, we can see that I've got one pending to mark, and I can see that Douglas has handed this in a day late. I can also go to marked, and I can see all of the other students, and I can see the feedback that I've given to those. So if I was to go back into Douglas's here, I'm able to see the work that Douglas has worked on. So I've kind of got the information that he set up in here. I can see the material that it was based on. And I've then got feedback in here, and I can say, thanks for this, looks good. Areas to improve, and I can start to put notes in around that, and I can then give him some feedback to say 75 out of 100 and feed that back. Now, as I build these assignments and start to work on them, they'll basically contribute to a grade section at the top here. So the grades basically allow us to see all of the different students and how many grades they've got and the total score that they've got, and I can export this information to Excel. So this is a very good way in the current environment where perhaps you can't get the paper back to you, that you're able to start doing grades and assignments and assign those to people, and basically start to schedule that work and get those back. I'm able also to add lots of different kind of tabs. So some of these I would recommend are disabled in your education environment. You potentially wouldn't want all of these available, but I can do things like if I've got a particular Word document that's important, I can click on the Add section here, and I'm able to add this Oceans project, and my students would be able to jump in and see that and see how that works. I can also go to the Oceans project other documents. So you can see here we can add all sorts of different tabs. They don't necessarily have to be Word documents, but this one's a Google document that people have access to as well. So this integrates with lots of different platforms. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to hand over to a student, Douglas, who's going to be able to go in and share and show some of the features and the functionality as a student. So everything you've seen so far is a teacher view. And now we're going to flip over to how the student sees this and how they can interact with the environment, what it looks like for them. Douglas?
Okay, thanks, Hugh. I'm just going to share my screen. Can you see that okay?
Yep.
Okay, so now me as a student, I'm going into the system, and I can see my teams look very similar to what the teacher was demonstrating before. Across the top, I've got sort of my activities. So this is where, again, I can see things that I've been sort of tagged in and things like that. But as well, I can also see where things like assignments have been returned to me. So as a teacher, when they've returned an assignment that I've submitted to them, I can see as a notification when they've reviewed that and their feedback. And if, for example, it's been passed to me and I need to update something, I can also choose to hand it back in from here as well. I can also see that inside of our chat, so I can have the same chat that I had with the teacher before, but also I get notifications inside of here automatically when assignments are handed back to me. I can see my teams in here. Now, if I just go back, I can see all the teams that I'm a member of. So, for example, the science and maths. If I go into science, I can see all the conversations inside of here. I can also see the files tab. So again, I can access all the files that the teacher has previously placed in here as class materials that I can get access to. I can also access my class notebook. However, I can only access my own notes. I cannot access any of the other students' notes. I can only access the notes I've previously been taking on some of the classes and courses and things like that. So, for example, the Ocean project, I can see my notes within here. I can see my assignments, so any assignments that have previously been given to me by the teacher, I can see under assigned, and I can also see previously completed assignments and access them as well if I need to go back and resubmit. When I go into my assignment, I can select the assignment here and I can see what the full details are of the assignment. I can also choose to upload and add my work. Now, mostly these sort of documents should be stored in my own OneDrive. So as a student, I still have my own OneDrive area, which is a cloud document storage area where I can choose to upload my work, my document, and create new files here. I can then select the document and click to attach, and I can attach multiple different documents. So it might be that there's a report, but there's also some supporting material that I want to attach to this particular assignment as well. And then once I'm happy with what I've uploaded, I can click on the hand in button across the top here. And then this will then send this off to the teacher to let them know that my assignment has been sent across. I can also access assignments on this tab on the left-hand side. I'm going to click on assignments. I can choose which class the assignment's for. I can select and I can see all the previous assignments in this view as well. Just jumping back into Teams, I can also see my grades in here. So any sort of assignments that I've posted, I can previously see when I've sent them. So the due dates, the assignment itself, the status, and the points. So they're essentially scored, and these can be set by the teacher of what these points are. And then whenever my assignment has then, for example, the one I've just submitted is then returned, I can see that this one has been complete, and the feedback's great work, well done. Just go back into the team. I can also see other things, so things like the pinned Word documents where we've got certain projects and information, case studies and things like that, what we might want to have at the top. That's easy to access, so I can access all of this information directly inside my team. And I can also access all the same kind of functionality in terms of the calendars and the files and things like that that we would previously be able to access as well. But the key difference being is as a student, I have only access to my own kind of materials in terms of things like the notebook and things like that, and my own assignments, and I don't have access to the other students' documents. Okay, can I hand back to you now, Hugh?
Thank you, Douglas. So I'll jump back in and I'll just show a brief example of some of the stuff that's changed. So just bear with me 2 seconds as I get switched over. Okay, cool. So Douglas was able then to show some of the stuff from a student perspective. As Douglas was assigning in different things, so he basically completed his homework. I was able to go into the assignments tab here. I could see under the introduction to aerodynamics that Douglas had finished this, and I was able to click inside of here and provide some feedback to say, great work, well done. So perhaps Douglas has done a fantastic job. I'm really pleased with how he's done that. I could come into here and I'm able to hit this little option at the bottom, which is called praise. And I'm able to basically send a message to say, well done. So achiever. I could type Douglas's name in here and I could say, well done on the latest assignment. Great work. And I can then provide that back for everyone, and everyone can then see that, and all of the rest of the students can participate. They could like it. Depending on your policies, they could start to provide some of the fun components of this, so they could find a GIF that's relevant and put things like well done in here. There is policies in the background, so perhaps if you're looking to enable some of the features like praise for teachers but not for students, that is something that can be configured, but it has to be done in the admin center of Microsoft Teams, where we can go and change different things. We also wanted to cover off a product called Flipgrid. So Flipgrid's also provided for free, and Microsoft have put a investment around this. So the idea of Flipgrid, as you can see here, is pinned as a tab at the very top. So what I'm able to do is if I log into Flipgrid as a teacher, just to show you, Flipgrid basically is to try and make an interactive video for students. So instead of it all being one way where you're having ad hoc video chats with the class and trying to perform in that way, what we can do with Flipgrid, which is completely free, we can create a grid within Flipgrid. So within one grid in the free version, you're able to create one grid and you're able to add an unlimited amount of topics into this. There is paid for versions as well, where you can take this off, but ultimately the free version is very, very powerful. What I'm able to do is I can come into Flipgrid here and I can create different topics. So a topic for the starting point here is say hello on Flipgrid. So what I could actually do is I could say, right, I want to use this as the starting point so that I want people to introduce themselves and basically as a new student joining, I can come in. I've put a little video on here where we can just basically
hello and welcome to our science class. If you'd like to just send a video and do an introduction about yourself, that'd be great.
So that's kind of me introducing the class and getting the other students done. I can go on to Douglas here. He's also recorded a video.
Hi, my name's Dougie. I'm interested in the sea and DNA, and I'm looking forward to the Oceans project to learn more about marine biology.
Douglas is really keen on the oceans. So that's kind of where all the students can come into here and they can put some information about themselves and basically have a little video. So that's a good way of basically getting some feedback on there. Within the topics, I've also kind of got this DNA structure. So this is a more formal one. What we can do within this section is we've put some materials that people would use for this. So DNA, some relevant links that we want. We've put kind of some guidance, and what we want students to do then is to post a video to document their progress. So this is kind of getting a very interactive way. Instead of having to do an individual call with every single one of your students, I'm able to create this topic, and then students are able to come in here and start to put recordings. So I've put another recording on here.
Hi everyone. Once you've been through the DNA materials provided and the classroom notes, I'd like you to post a video about the top 3 facts that you've learned about DNA.
So that's kind of just a really fun way. It's more of an engaging, get people to upload videos. They can have the video themselves on there, and they can do all sorts of things like put emojis on or blur themselves, or like I have done on this one, I've just put some pictures. But what this enables you to do is start to get feedback in an interactive way, and other people can then start play these videos back and they can reply them and do all of that kind of thing. There's also this kind of disco library at the top. So the disco library is basically a load of topics that other teachers and educators have provided. So you can actually come into here, you could search for a topic. So we might look for something on science, and then you can find all of the other topics that people have already got started with. So you could start to use these and add them into your own grid just to help you get started. So kind of Flipgrid is being used a lot really to make the classes more interactive, provide a bit of fun, and it's a lot of like the modern TikTok kind of thing where the students can engage in a different way other than just using posts and feedback on that way. The final thing that we wanted to cover really is kind of how the staff can utilize some of the tools that are available within here as well. So obviously we focus very much on the classroom aspects and how you can use Microsoft Teams to enable that. We can also use Flipgrid to provide a more interactive classroom. But SharePoint's also a very good product that can perhaps be used as a knowledge base, and it can also be used as a way of having a lot of back office type functionalities within here as well. So I've got an example here of kind of a staff intranet. And what we can do on here is we've got things like policies. So the teachers are able and the staff are able to come on here and see the policies. We can use it for information sharing. So I've got kind of a section on COVID-19. And then I've got different applications. So within SharePoint, we're able to build apps like a leave request application. And as I scroll through this page, I've got kind of news that's relevant to people. I've got countdown timers. I've got a Twitter feed on here. I've got the policy documents that are changing. So really think of SharePoint as a tool that you can use to help share information and create interactive pages. And that's kind of another tool that can be utilized as part of this platform. So that's kind of an overview of the Microsoft Teams that's available. We've done a brief overview of Microsoft SharePoint. And we've also been into Flipgrid and shown a little bit around how that can be used as well. So there is some further resources. So we want to make this PowerPoint presentation available to everybody after this. And there's a lot of resources that people have been making to really help you ramp up on this remote learning. So Microsoft have provided this aka.ms Teams Edu webinars. So they've also been running a series of webinars that can help you get started. So you can jump into these webinars and get help on an IT admin perspective of how you should set this up, how you can run online meetings with your students, and how you can run classes and lectures around that as well. There's also a huge community. So if we click on this link after you download the presentation, you can join the community, and there's a huge amount of teachers and other people that are willing to help and get you on, and there's a different learning paths that you can follow and lesson plans. So this link's a fantastic community that can really get you started with using these tools. There's other resources as well. So we've got the Educator Centre. So there's lots of resources available in here. We've got the IT learning. So from an IT perspective, if you're an IT manager looking to learn more about these tools, this is a good page to go to. We've got the global education training partners. So these are all the specialists in the education industry, Microsoft partners that can help you train up and upskill in this area. And Microsoft have also been running a series of workshops in which you can join and start to build your knowledge in these areas as well. There's also the remote learning documentation. So this again is another useful link where it's got a lot of information and downloadable materials about how you can get started with each of the tools that we've been through today, including Microsoft Teams, SharePoint, and Flipgrid. So simple next steps to get started. I would recommend after you've downloaded the presentation after this, make sure you've got your free tools. So this first link is the downloadable licenses that you can get, and this will get you started with everything that I've showed you. Perhaps following this, jump into a few more of the webinars that are available and join those and learn as much as you can. Using the Learning Center, you can build your own development plan, so you can put your own structure together on the different tools and how you want to learn them. Read the How to Get Started Teams guidance. That's a really good resource. And obviously look at getting the free deployment assistance using Fast Track. So if you are in education and you haven't got started with this, I would highly recommend that Fast Track is a good route to go down. As an organisation as well, we offer various workshops. So if you're looking to perhaps get started with Microsoft Teams and you'd like to do either a training session or an adoption session, then get in touch and we can run these kind of sessions with you and help jumpstart your classrooms as well. This is kind of a series of webinars that we've been running. So all of these are available as downloads where we've talked about building effective remote departments. We've talked about removing paper and mobilizing a remote workforce. Today's event about running classrooms remotely. And we're also running a Microsoft 365 products overview for non-profits, which will be run on the 7th of May. That leaves us now with plenty of time for Q&A. So I think we've had a huge amount of questions posted in. Lisa?
Yeah, you definitely have. So let's just start off with them. You have answered some of them, so I might have to skip over some of them. Hugh, what age would you say that Teams would be most appropriate for? Is it 6 and over, or would you say it's better for older children?
I think that it can be aimed at pretty much any type of child above 6 and above. But we're seeing this a lot more in kind of secondary schools and above where it's really taking off. But Microsoft are very much developing these tools for age 6 and above.
Okay, here's another one for you. How would you search for lost homework? This person's sure that there'd be errors in saving documents with students.
So as an IT administrator, you would be able to go into the different students' OneDrives. You would also be able to go into the other areas that might have stored them. So the searching capability would be the best part. So when I'm in office.com, I can do a search at the top here for test as an example, and that'll go find all references to test. And hopefully you would find the document that way. But I think that question perhaps would need a little digging into their OneDrive, seeing if it's in there, and then obviously doing the search. And potentially if it's not in those areas, there is an admin center. So you could request from your IT manager or whoever's responsible for looking after your environment. We can actually come into this admin center, and in the compliance section, there's a search that you can run that'll search over the whole of Office 365. And if it's not found, then it's likely never been in the Office 365 environment.
All right, about the whiteboard. First of all, can you type in the whiteboard? And then how do you stop the children from playing on the interactive whiteboard?
So there's an app that you can get. So when I'm not doing a live demonstration, you can actually utilize the app that's available on your PC, and this works in the same way. So we can use this to draw. We can also then use this to do text. So I can type in here, so hello, and I can also then do things like paste images on there as well, and I can do that kind of thing. So the app itself for the whiteboard provides a very rich experience. Unfortunately, at the moment, there's no way to restrict who can mess around with these, so you'll find that students would be able to come in and draw on this. I think that's planned to be a feature that they might change going forward.
What about locking down things like GIFs, students sending GIFs to each other while you're teaching?
Yep. So I touched on this very lightly through the presentation, which was around how we could restrict who could perhaps use things like praise functionality and that kind of thing. So within the Teams admin center, we've got a whole host of different kind of policies. So one of those policies that would be of interest is the messaging policy. And I can have a default policy that would be applied to everybody. So everybody would be able to see that. But I can also then create perhaps a student policy, and I can then change things like they're not able to use GIFs, or that perhaps even put them on a more strict content rating. So the way you would do that would be to look at creating different policies for the different user groups. And there are some preset policies that you can apply that Microsoft have already created, like a student one. So it'd be a matter of tweaking those.
Okay, one of our participants is used to a function in Skype where they can annotate in a PowerPoint presentation or a slide that the presenter is showing you by typing text. Is that available in Teams?
So I think we'd probably have to take that one away and have a look. Not that I'm aware of.
All right. Would you recommend sort of creating a team for parents to contact their children's teachers? And that would be then a place where parents' communications could be stored.
I think that would probably, it's not designed for parents to be involved on this platform at the moment. And I think there's not really any way. I think all the parents would be able to see all the other parents' information. So I would suggest probably not at this time.
Okay. As a support service, could this particular participant set up a channel for each teacher, and then they could set up pupils from a range of schools that could be taught individually, but the other pupils in schools can't see their work, so almost like a service provider kind of environment?
Yeah, so you could set up a team and you can invite people externally. So you could invite perhaps people from different schools via their external email address. So that would be possible.
Can students check each other's work? Can they dabble in each other's files and things like that?
No, it's restricted to only that student. So the OneDrive is personal to that student, so nobody can see that. And the same with the OneNote, they wouldn't be able to see anyone's. Only a teacher would be able to see that.
Okay. When setting an assignment in Teams, this participant notices that you can't browse to resources on the SharePoint. Is there a way around that?
Potentially the best way would be to get in touch with us and we can have a look at that issue specifically, so it should work.
Okay. How do students record their video for Flipgrid? Do they do it using Microsoft Stream in Teams?
So yeah, when we're in a Flipgrid, or when we're in a grid in Flipgrid, when we're setting up a Flipgrid within here, it's got its own URL, so we can give it a unique URL that people are able to join. And we're able then to add people into the class. So you can see here, I've got Douglas and his code is available here. So what that basically means is when a student joins, that student has his own unique code. So if I just jump into the class and I go to Flipgrid, the student would see this interface where they can see Science Grid. They're able to type in the code, so they put 4 zeros, which is Douglas's code. And that takes them into here and they can start to see other people's responses and they can hit the add button on here. So when they hit add, it'll basically ask them to use their web camera and they can configure that, and then they can record that on their PC or they can import it as well. So it's very simple to do.
Okay, one last one for you, Hugh. Is it possible to create teams for people having different email IDs?
I don't know what that means, sorry. So perhaps get in touch.
I was assuming it might be that we are giving users and students sort of school IDs. We can check.
Yeah, we can invite people externally, so we can invite anybody into a team really, if the permissions allow it. So, and you can have, I've joined as into multiple teams environments, so that's possible. So hopefully that answers your question.
Thank you, Hugh. That's it for the questions.
Brilliant. Okay. Well, thank you very much, everybody, for joining, and we hope to see you on an event soon. And if you've got any more questions, just get in touch.
Thank you.